Good evening and welcome to our 60th Annual Bishops' Company fundraiser. My name is Bishop Andrew Asbill. For the second year in a row, we have set aside our annual fundraising dinner for a virtual cabaret because of pandemic. Following on the heels of last year's inaugural showcase of talent, we're happy to return with 12 new performances by musicians from across the diocese. The set list includes dance, worship, and praise music, contemporary and classical favorites, and instrumental and vocal performances that will appeal to the young and young at heart. For 60 years, the Bishops' Company, a fellowship network that was originally formed to help raise funds for emergency clergy expenses, professional development, and bursaries for theological students, has hosted an annual fundraising dinner. It has proven to be an important fundraising event in the diocese, generating over $4 million since inception. Last year's cabaret raised nearly $90,000 thanks to our sponsors and donations. We are grateful for your support of our ministry. If last year's experience is any indication, we can expect to welcome hundreds of viewers like yourself from across the diocese and beyond to this evening's online fundraiser, an event that is accessible to all for the benefit of our frontline workers in faith. In addition to music, we have two other presentations this evening. As is the custom with the annual dinner, we have a keynote speaker, or in this case, speakers. We're pleased to welcome our suffragan bishops, Rusilla Shaw and Kevin Robertson, who will be joined in conversation with longtime CBC News host, Judy Madron. They will explore their experience of hopefulness during the pandemic, how Jesus is active in their lives, and how the Bishops' Company has impacted on clergy. We also have a personal testimony of how the Bishops' Company has assisted clergy in difficult circumstances. The cabaret is a benefit event, and we would like to encourage your generous support. I will have more to say on that shortly. Any gathering in the diocese is an opportunity to express gratitude, offer prayer, and demonstrate our desire to be instruments of God's peace, love, and reconciliation. In this same spirit, we acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabeg nations, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. This territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. This territory is also covered by the Toronto Purchase, and today Toronto is a home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. I am heartened that many of our Indigenous brothers and sisters and siblings are with us this evening and appreciate that they can participate in this evening's performance once again. Let us pray. God of joy, give us your good spirit. God of harmony, let us dance to the rhythms of your world. We praise you with music, song, art, and creativity. Bless our time together this evening. May we enjoy the diversity expressed here and celebrate the richness of talent from across our diocese. We extend gratitude to the performers who will share their gifts with us this evening. We pray for those who cannot be with us, those who are in our prayers, who are suffering, and those for whom this pandemic has been especially difficult. In this challenging time, we ask for your blessing. In your name, amen. No event runs smoothly without an MC, and I'm happy to welcome the Reverend Jesse Parker. Father Jesse has been the incumbent of St. John the Evangelist Port Hope since October 2013. Born in Toronto, he was educated at Royal St. George's College and Trinity College. Before ordination, Jesse was a teacher, a fundraiser, and lead singer of a rock band. He's eminently qualified to introduce this evening's performances. Over to you, Jesse.
Thank you for your introduction, Bishop. It is a pleasure to be able to assist with this evening's event. Our first three performances include a youth ensemble, a professionally trained classical pianist, and a guitarist. Water Guns and Daisies, in no way related to Guns N' Roses, is a band comprised of youth ages 12 to 17 from Markham and Durham, who are passionate about music production and live music. Ever since their first jam session, the band has loved to play a wide variety of music together, including rock, jazz, instrumental, and pop. They operate out of Grace Church in Markham. The pianist Valentin Bogolubov was born in Latvia, where he studied piano, violin, voice, and choral conducting. An accomplished soloist, Valentin has performed with orchestras from Moscow, Latvia, and Lithuania. Since 2015, he has been the church organist and music director at Christ Church Stouffville, in addition to his private practice. We round out our first set of performances with John Deacon on guitar. John is a longtime volunteer in street outreach, working in the downtown East Side, one of the most vulnerable neighborhoods in Toronto. John is an active member at Church of the Redeemer.
Do I have to sing from the beginning?
us turn to the Lord. Now He will heal us. Come, let us turn to the Lord. He will bandage our wounds. Oh, that we might know the Lord. Oh, that we might know the Lord. The Lord will come like the coming of dawn, like the coming of rains in the spring. Come, let us turn to the Lord. Now He will heal us. Come, let us turn to the Lord. He will bandage our wounds. Oh, that we might know the Lord. Oh, that we might know the Lord. The Lord will come like the coming of dawn, like the coming of rains in the spring. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord smile and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you His favor and give you His peace. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord smile and be gracious to you. May the Lord show you His favor and give you His peace. And give you His peace. And give you His peace.
Over the course of its 60 years, the Bishop's Company has raised over $4 million from generous Anglicans like you. It is a fellowship network that has spawned similar groups across Canada with the same purpose in mind, providing support to those leaders in our family of faith in their time of need. To explain the work of the Bishop's Company and how you can help, I welcome back our Bishop, Andrew.
As a first-hand beneficiary of the Bishop's Company, I can attest to the impact that your support has on the lives of clergy. A few years back, I made a personal testimony in front of hundreds of guests at the 54th annual dinner. I spoke of a medical emergency my sister-in-law had following a terrible accident while on holidays in Europe. I was able to be by my brother's side through this ordeal thanks to the financial assistance provided by the Bishop's Company, and I am not alone. Each year, my colleague bishops and I receive numerous requests for help. Some may be small, like travel assistance to a conference or help with paying for an online theology course. Others not so small, counseling, dental reconstructive surgery, and speech occupational therapy for children. Most years we get over $100,000 in requests, and most of the time we can do something. In the last number of years, the Bishop's Company has made some notable gifts. Through their capital savings, the company made a $500,000 grant to establish the Bishop's Endowment in the Anglican Diocese of Toronto Foundation. 10 years on, that project now fully funded. The Office of the Bishop of Toronto is now funded by an endowment ensuring that our diocese, despite any financial challenges it might face, will perpetually be able to support a bishop. In addition, the Bishop's Company have provided financial support to Indigenous programs and stipendiary assistance for clergy. They provide annual bursaries for theological students and postulants, a purse to clergy widows at Christmas, and provided seed funding for our employee assistance program. This past year, we were able to augment the employee assistance program for lay staff and clergy in the diocese. It's been a stressful and trying time for many of us, and that little bit extra has meant a great deal to many. Your support in 2020 made that happen. Thank you. We know there will be more requests this year, and that is why I am asking for your continued support this evening. If you have a smartphone, you can make a gift right now. On your screen, you will notice a little square with the diocesan crest in it. It's called a QR, or quick response code. For years, you have made gifts online or in response to a letter, or dropped something onto an offertory plate. You can still use all of those means, but since many of you use smartphones for practically everything, you can now use it to make a gift to the church. Using QR code is quite simple. Open the camera function on your phone and hover it over the code and follow the instructions on your screen. Within a few seconds, an app will appear on your screen. Open it up, press the Make a Donation button, and you're good to go. The app takes gifts of any size, and a charitable tax receipt will be sent to your email inbox once you have completed making a gift. In addition to the QR code, our web address is noted below so you can make an online donation. And if you want to write a check, our mailing address will be posted at the end of this evening's performance. I want to leave you with one final example of how the Bishop's Company helps clergy. Canon Mary Conliffe is my executive assistant and works closely with many clergy in our diocese. She has a powerful message.
Good evening. Tonight is a marvelous occasion, but I do wish that we could be together, as we often are, for the Bishop's Company dinner, with its delicious meal and wonderful fellowship. Maybe next year. But I am grateful for the gift of technology that gathers us in this way, and which allows me to speak to you tonight, which I would never have had the courage to do in the Marriott Ballroom. At these events, usually a beneficiary of Bishop's Company funding for some kind of emergency need offers an expression of gratitude. It is often the most moving moment on the program. I am glad that the members of the Bishop's Company and all of the generous donors to the fund get to hear how very much they are appreciated. But in my capacity as executive assistant to the Bishop of Toronto, I have been privileged to be a part of the granting process for over 20 years. And how often at those dinners have I wished that you could know what I know, just how desperately needed your support has been for so many reasons to so many clergy who may never thank you personally. You see, although you may hear about those who receive funding for dental work or emergency travel or family support, there are other good reasons that clergy approach our bishop for help. These requests often come from a place of deep vulnerability. Clergy are not immune from human suffering. Addiction, spousal abuse, mental and physical ailments too private to share. Some of the clergy you love are carrying burdens about which you will never know. But your generous donations to the Bishop's Company Fund allows our bishop to say yes when approached for help. And his yes allows for not just the financial support to meet the presenting needs, but also for demonstrating the loving care of the family of the Church, of our Diocese of Toronto, of you, the people of God. It means just as much to the recipients, maybe more. So, on behalf of all those clergy who, like me, may never have the courage to stand up at a Bishop's Company dinner and say this personally, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your gifts of love.
Like the first act, our second act opens with a focus on young performers. The Reverend Stephanie Douglas, incumbent of St. Paul on the Hill in Pickering, performs a Highland reel that includes a dance performance with her daughter, Tess, and her cousin, Allison. They do a pretty good job of street dancing Sans the Kilts. The Thomas Trinity Band is an ensemble of musicians from respective Anglican churches in the Barrie area. Together, they provide a blend of traditional and contemporary music with spiritual, Celtic, folk, and jazz influences. Past performances include jazz vespers, concerts, and worship services. Comprised of Jackie Bennett, Brad Daniels, Bob Garrett, and Raymond Martinelli, the Thomas Trinity Band delivers an abundance of experience, talent, and passion to their performances, bringing joy, peace, and inspiration to all who come to listen. Our final performance in this act comes from the Toronto Urban Native Ministry. To honor all those who never returned home from residential school, Georgina Bird, Laverne Malcolm, and the Reverend Lee Kern sing the Strong Women's Men's Healing Song, and Anishinaabekwe. Laverne Malcolm and Georgina Bird are traditional singers who provide cultural care to our community members, especially in times of grief and loss.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm descended from a long line of Presbyterian ministers who would probably be spinning in their graves if they learned that their great-great-great-granddaughter had become an Anglican minister. And to them I would simply say, oh well. But actually Scots make for good Anglicans. And I've been asked to play the violin and my daughter to dance, and we're both pretty rusty after a couple of years of pandemic living. So instead we're going to share with you some of the traditions that come from Scotland that also make us good Anglicans. So just like Anglicans, Scots love their vestments. There was a time in Scottish history when the English, in an attempt to subjugate the Scots, banned the wearing of kilts. And the Scots, in good Anglican fashion, decided to make a liturgical dance to express their dissatisfaction with the new regime. The dance that Tess and her cousin Allison are now going to perform for you is called the Chantreuse, and it's called the kicking off of the trousers. In the dance, if you watch carefully, you'll notice that they are kicking off the English trousers and then dancing and kicking up their feet with joy at the freedom as they don the proper vestment, which is the Scottish kilt. Here's Tess and Allison dancing the Chantreuse. Just like the Anglicans, the Scots love their traditional instruments. There was a time that the English tried to ban the bagpipes. In fact, they did ban the bagpipes. And the Scots, who loved the bagpipes, just found a workaround. And they had their fiddlers play music in such a way that it imitated the sounds of the bagpipe. In the pieces that I'm going to perform, see if you can hear the drone of the bagpipes in the flourishes that I make, which is part of Scottish fiddling. I hope you've enjoyed this little tour of Scottish history, and I hope you'll agree with me that the Anglican Church has room for people from all cultures and all traditions, including folks from Scotland. Thanks very much.
The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, O my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name.
You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find.
Bless the Lord, O my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. Ooh. Bless the Lord, O my soul, O my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, O my soul. I'll worship Your holy name. I'll worship Your holy name. I'll worship Your holy name.
Anin, bonjour tante. Laverne Malcolm is my GST name. Ganin Ganit Deshnikas. I come from Ebb and Flow, Manitoba, Dunjaba. And I'm here with my girlfriend.
Anin, my name is Georgina Bird. My spirit name is Yellow Thunder Woman, and I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And we're here today with my friend Laverne. We're going to be providing some entertainment for you people out there.
And the first song we're going to sing is a Strong Woman song. And we dedicate this to all the women, children, mothers, grandmothers who lost their siblings, whatever form it was, all for the residential school. We sing this Strong Woman song for you. Nah, big
What are you
way.
saying there? It sounds like you're saying willow.
For 16 years, Judy Madron co-hosted or hosted CBC Radio's national newscast, World Report, every morning. And now in retirement, she and a small group of journalists and editors create sound portraits, assembling stories of individuals and people and family to celebrate memories and memoirs of a community. Tonight, she brings her considerable skill as a journalist to interview two people that I have the joy of working with every single day and who offer so much passion and leadership in our diocese, our area bishops and suffragans, Bishop Priscilla Shaw and Bishop Kevin Robertson. Please enjoy their conversation tonight.
Good evening, and hello, Priscilla, Bishop Shaw. It's so nice to actually meet you, and Kevin, Bishop Robertson. It's good to see you again. And it's wonderful to be with you in this intimate setting. The Zoom is clearly not your first rodeo in the last year and a half, nor mine, but I got to admit, it's a privilege to talk to both of you in whatever way we can.
Thank you so much.
So when I was chatting with my mother, who is at 97, a lifelong Anglican, about the questions I should ask, she said, well, why don't you start with, are you a Christian? And I said, well, that's a good question, but maybe we'll go at it a different way. So let's try with a couple of other questions.
So you don't actually want to know?
Yes, are you?
Yes.
I would say I'm a Christ follower.
Okay, well, I would like to just take a quick look back at your beginnings with this calling. And Priscilla, let's start with you. What kind of experience or what happened that set you on this path as a priest?
Thank you. That's a good question. I felt the call early on. I was in grade 9. And actually my brother, who's older than me, had discerned that he also felt called to be a priest. And it made quite a sensation with the guidance counselor, who thought that we should be something more contributing to society, like a lawyer or a mathematician. So my mother, who was a church organist, thought it was a genius idea that my brother wanted to be a priest. So I said, well, I want to be a priest too. Look at the attention we're getting here, right? My brother didn't end up being a priest. He went to be a welder and a construction worker, but I followed the call. I felt the call and followed it all the way along through high school and university and straight to seminary and into the parish.
Not without a few hitches, I'm guessing.
Correct. Many hitches. But I felt affirmed on so many ways, so many parts of the path along the way. I felt affirmed by my family. I felt affirmed by folks in the church, lay people in the church especially. I felt affirmed by other clergy, and I felt called. I felt affirmed by God in following the call. And it was a really deep honor to walk with the hands and feet of Christ as best as possible, following in that path. So had many encouragements along the way.
Kevin.
Well, not unlike Priscilla, I felt a call to priestly life at a very early age, remarkably early now that I look back on it at the age of 50. And I recall being, you had to be 9 years old to join the junior choir at Holy Trinity, Thornhill. And we had a young assistant curate named Philip Poole, who looked after the junior choir at that time. And he let a few of us in before our 9th birthday. And I remember being in the junior choir. And then a couple of years later, when I was 12 and young kids were able to join the Servers Guild, as I stepped into those roles with the friendship and fellowship of other kids my age and the community, I really began to feel that sense of call to ordain ministry. I draw it all the way back there. And I think it's one of the reasons that I think it's so important that the church continue to invest in children and youth ministry, because I know firsthand that at a young age, I felt God's call on my life in a particular way. And I would even say I was discipled in those early days of youth group, Servers Guild, junior choir. Like Priscilla, I later on in my teenage years, I stepped aside of that and went off to university, but I came back, and I really attribute that to that early call on my life.
And now, having made it along that path, both of you as bishop, Kevin, just tell me briefly, what would you say takes courage in your work as a bishop?
Just about everything. but in particular, I think what takes the most courage is having difficult conversations. I had difficult conversations as a parish priest, obviously through a number of different incumbencies, but I did not realize the extent to which being a bishop involved having difficult conversations. And there's sometimes conversations about parish viability, or about conflict in a parish, or about the appointment of clergy. I mean, they could be about a number of different things. I think one of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years of being a bishop is those difficult conversations also have to contain a level of hopefulness, because that's what we're called to, right? To hopefulness. So it can't.
And I want to get back to that, but
okay.
But Priscilla, briefly, what do you find it takes courage for you in this work?
I really like the image of raising my head up, not being focused on the narrow path, the nitty gritty, the things that take time and energy, and on some levels seem to suck out time and energy. But raising my head up to look at the bigger picture. Who are we being called to be? Where are we going as a church? In this time of COVID, how is the Spirit, which is very active in this time, how is the Spirit guiding us and directing us and calling us to be Christ's hands and feet in the community? So
you're saying that it takes courage to look up.
I would say so, because it's pretty quotidian to keep going. Just put the head down, put the shoulder to the plow, and keep going. But it's also our responsibility, I believe. And sometimes it takes a prophetic voice. I've heard many prophetic voices in the wilderness calling out, and it takes courage to look up and, raise your head up and get it chopped off. We know that one, right? So it takes courage, I think.
Thank you.
Roger Gibbs is a singer, guitarist, and recording artist originally from Barbados, who composes, arranges, and performs Caribbean acoustic and calypso with his band Shak Shak. He has worked as an artistic director for the Toronto Caribbean Carnival and been a guest producer at Harbourfront Centre. In 2013, Roger received a special Toronto Caribbean Carnival Award for his outstanding contribution to the growth and development of calypso in Canada. Isaac Bonk is a Toronto-born musician. He plays a mixture of his own compositions and pre-war and folk revival era country blues and bluegrass. A TTC busker and musician about town, Isaac plays in many of Toronto's bona fide folk clubs. He is joined by Graham McGilvery on violin. Gordon Ratcliffe currently performs at St. Dunstan of Canterbury Anglican Church with the choir and as a chamber musician. He has performed with the Young Singers, a children's choir based in the Durham region of Ontario. He is the second flute and principal piccolo for the Durham Chamber Orchestra.
This song is all about how calypso came to Canada. Yes, most people don't know the history of calypso in this country. They think it started in 80 with the crowning of Lord Smoky. They never checked it seriously to know it was here since the 40s. First introduced to Canada by a trainee named Lord Caressa. Lord Caressa had his own show. 1946, you should know. In Montreal on the radio, turn Canadian song to calypso. Lord Melody came here to reside, but the cold weather here chased the backside. He had to run back to Trinbago in 57 long ago. Class in session, please pay attention. Listen to this teacher. Calypso history in Canada. Yeah, boy. Da da dee da da dee do do da da ba da da dee do do da 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 dee dee da dee da 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 do. First in the 60s was Lord Lance, an English chap who took a chance, doing hitting in calypso on a popular TV show. First calypso contest, you should know. Maple Leaf Gardens held the show. We crowned the first king of calypso in 69, David Castro. Class in session, please pay attention. Listen to this teacher. Calypso history in Canada. Yeah. Die, 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 die. Dee doi doi. Da dum be die doi. Dee doi doi. Da da dee die die. Dee da da da. Dee dum ba da doi. Calypso history in Canada. And for my next song, I'd like to do one from a different part of the Caribbean than you would expect. It's from Belize, and it's by the late, great Walter Ferguson. And it's all about a very favorite dish of mine and in the Caribbean, callaloo. And everybody got their own opinion. Some may be right, some may be wrong, but callaloo, everybody love. Callaloo, everybody love. I know a woman, she named Molu. She wake up one morning, she was feeling blue. Called to her sister, whose name was Sue. Beg she to cook a little callaloo. I say, callaloo, everybody love. Callaloo, sing with me now, come on. Callaloo, everybody love. Callaloo, me turtle dove. Callaloo, yeah. It's good for your belly and it's good for your back. Tighten every joint that is feeling slack. Me say, callaloo, everybody love. Callaloo, me turtle dove. Callaloo, yeah. Callaloo, callaloo, everybody love callaloo. This is one of my own songs that I wrote for the Toronto Carnival. The Toronto Carnival, I know, is a big, big festival, I know. The Toronto Carnival, I know, is a real big bacchanal, I know. Everybody dancing, putting on a show. Together we moving, down the road we go. The Toronto Carnival, I know, is a big, big bacchanal, I know. The Toronto Carnival, I know, is a real big festival, I know. Everybody, hope you're having a good time out there. It's been a pleasure playing for you. Bye for now. See you next time. Yeah, the Toronto Carnival, I know, is a big
Well, there comes a time for leaving most each and every day. My thoughts grow like a child with farewell words to say. Oh, some they fill with sorrow, while others bend to pray. When you roll, and you roll blindly when you go. So if a man should leave his happy home to ease his troubled mind, our sailor died a drowning death with the land too far behind. Then their fate when met shall be the same, and hope will come to find. When you roll blind when you go. It's a lonely, fearful feeling when I think of things like this, that all the time I've taken I could fit upon my wrist. Yet I will not beg or plead, I will not clench my fists. When you roll blind when you go. Oh, I've talked for many hours with friends through tired rain, of leaving where we're talking and leading where it's death. So it can't be heard us speaking of a traded life for death. And when you roll blind when you go. But for now I sit with the evening sun and a gentle western breeze. For now I see through clear green eyes and softly here I breathe. Oh, I have no place to go just now, I have no place to be. When I roll, I'll walk blindly when I go.
Kevin and Priscilla, I know from my own experience as a clergy wife that your calling places pressure on you and on the people close to you. Can you share an insight on how you manage it? Perhaps a secret to keeping the many balls in the air and not dropping them? Kevin?
Well, you're so right, Judy. Like it is an overwhelming task to be a bishop, and I think, frankly, to be a priest in the church as well. I think one of the things that we do in our family life, my spouse is a judge, so he also has an overwhelming workload. And I think one of the ways that we have navigated that since his appointment earlier this year is really to be as attentive to our kids and the time that we have with them as much as possible. So they're now in grade 4. They don't come home for lunch anymore. They walk home from school by themselves now. So we know that there are pockets of time in the day and in the week when we can be with them. And we have actually spoken intentionally about how to make the very best of that so that our huge work lives can happen when the kids are at school and doing other things, but that we're really making time to be with them whenever possible.
Priscilla?
Well, the first thought that comes to mind for me is I get used to the thundering sound of balls dropping all around me all the time. And I welcome it on some levels because I think it's really challenging to prioritize, and sometimes priorities have to shift. But it's the age-old question of how to balance the vocation, right? The vocation of being a family member. So in my case, a daughter and a sister, as well as a spouse and a parent and a friend and community member. And it's complicated and challenging, but I think carving out time is entirely the right thing to do. When I go on holidays, I take my holidays. I don't check my emails, which leads to more balls dropping, but that's part of life. And so focusing, really just spending time intentionally. We have 2 little dogs, which we like to take for walks and take to the beach. We live close to Lake Ontario. It's a lovely place to go to watch the swans in their migration and listen to the songbirds and just ground ourselves with the rocks and the water. So spending time together intentionally.
Now, COVID has, of course, already been mentioned, but I wonder if you could very as succinctly as possible tell me how COVID has had an impact on you, good and bad. Priscilla?
I have spent a lot more time at home this past year and a half than I have in many, many years. And so being able to spend that intentional time with family, being able to help make meals, being present in the home has been a real gift. It's also been a real challenge because I'm a people person and I like to get out and about to see the communities and see people in action. So I would say it's been a mixed blessing on that level for me specifically.
Kevin?
Yeah, I would say the same thing about family life. I never thought I would spend this much time with my family. In fact, there were times when our kids were doing remote learning last year and the 4 of us and our pandemic puppy were all around the house together, where I was like, oh, these are the only people I ever see in my life anymore, at least in a 3-dimensional sense. But it was wonderful. I mean, it was just great to be able to spend that kind of quality time together. I think one of the challenges for me and for our family is just the inactivity. We were a very active family before the pandemic. Our kids played sports. I ran, and I'm one of the people who probably picked up a pandemic 15 pounds or so in COVID, and just trying to become reactivated in lots of different ways is I think part of the challenge going forward for me.
Personally, for me, it was seeing the birds. I'd never really looked at birds before, but that was a little bit of a space.
For me, it was also seeing the neighborhood that I live in, because I was able to create time to walk several times a day out and about in the neighborhood. So greeting the neighbors and getting to know them in ways that I hadn't, because I hadn't made time to do that before. So I've been very active and it's been quite wonderful.
And do you remember earlier on in the pandemic when very few people were flying, and where we live in Toronto, I think is under a flight path. And I was really conscious of the fact back in the early part of the pandemic that we would hear lots of birds, as the 2 of you have said, but also the absence of those kinds of other sounds that you just kind of got used to. And there was something refreshing about that.
And then there was the time when you'd say, "There's a plane."
Please,
Sort of
I
like
know.
Superman.
Yes.
Anyway, it's the challenge will be to bring all of these learnings into the next point of our lives.
Absolutely. Finding integration. Yes.
This evening's presentation is made possible thanks to generous sponsorship from many of the friends and business associates of the diocese. Their names are acknowledged at the beginning and end of this evening's performance and can be found on the Bishop's Company website and Facebook page. Sponsorship helps cover the cost of promotion, production, recording, and editing. We are very grateful for their generous support. Of course, this evening's presentation is about showcasing talent, music, performance, and theater. Without the enthusiasm of the artists with us tonight, we would not be able to carry on the annual tradition of the Bishop's Company to raise funds for the benefit of our clergy. This cabaret is an example of how charities can reinvent themselves during the pandemic, and we are so thankful to each and every one of you for helping to make this event possible. Our final act features 2 soloists and a choir. Tenor Chris Fisher has earned a reputation as an intelligent, flexible, and sensitive performer on the concert stage. The holder of Bachelor of Music and Master of Music degrees in vocal performance and education from Wilfrid Laurier University and Arizona State University, respectively, Chris has performed as a soloist in Handel's annual holiday favorite, Messiah, more than 100 times, and is featured in major works for choir and orchestra. Rachel Coleman has been playing music and fostering participation in singing in Anglican congregations in Winnipeg and Toronto for more than a decade. She brings pieces of liturgy and scripture to life in meditative song. Prayer, reflection, and slowing down our souls can be difficult in anxious and fearful days, and her music is an apt response.
Sweet silver song of
us from our sleep. A new day, oh Lord, lies open before us. A new day, oh Lord, lies open before us.
So, Kevin and Priscilla, the Bishop's Company dinner is about raising funds to help clergy who may be struggling. Could each of you tell a story or describe how you know some of these funds are, in fact, helping clergy? Kevin?
Well, in the past 4 years of being a bishop, I can think of a number of occasions when the Bishop's Company has specifically helped our clergy and their families around counseling. And obviously, most of that is very confidential. One of the things that comes to mind, though, is in my first year as a bishop, just before Christmas, one of our clergy was in a car accident. Now, fortunately, he was okay, but it was just a couple of days before Christmas. And he had all, the craziness of the Christmas season for everybody, but especially for clergy. He just had no ability to get around. And through the Bishop's Company, Archbishop Johnson at the time signed off on some money to just fix that in the moment, to rent a car. And then insurance was going to cover part of the cost of replacing the car, but not all of it. So we were able to make sure that this priest, 4 days before Christmas, was able to do the family things he needed to do, and also obviously do the church things he needed to do. And he sent us a note afterwards in the new year, just to express his profound gratitude for making the Christmas season a whole lot easier, and gave thanks that he and others weren't hurt in that car accident.
And Priscilla, do you have a story?
Well, one of the stories that comes to mind for me is a story of a giver to the Bishop's Company dinner, that they can vicariously assist folks who are in need, especially sometimes there are people who know how clergy families function from the inside out. And so they know how difficult it can be living on a clergy salary or living in a fishbowl or all these things that contribute to the need that arises, that the Bishop's Company meets the need in. And so I remember specifically one parishioner in one of my parishes who had the capacity and the means to give generously, and felt that it was a gift that they could participate in the life of the clergy, helping them come to new life, come to a balance in their lives with these funds that really met a need. And it was one of those things where sort of your reward will be great in heaven. And for them, they felt like their reward was being able to give now, and to be able to give in this way to really build up and support when people are in times of need. So I was really grateful to get to know them and to hear their stories of generosity and their willingness to give in this way.
Now, you both have gone through the experience of being incumbents and bishops. And as incumbents and rectors, you would have heard close stories of challenges that all sorts of people were facing, and probably even more so as bishops. And so you may be even more aware now of the dark, challenging side of life. And my question now is, how do each of you know that God is present? Priscilla?
The other day, we had a conversation at our area council where we went around the circle, and anybody who wished to, and it was a virtual circle on Zoom, anybody who wished to shared a grace moment that had occurred to them or been inspirational for them just in the last day or a few days. And so for me, the presence of God is in those grace moments. And when we invite people to speak into the moment of grace that they see, to articulate how is grace active in their lives, it's an amazing, energizing, vibrant conversation. And so in those darknesses, I see and look for grace moments, and I invite them for myself and for the people that we're working with. I invite them to see the grace in the darkness, in the difficult challenges. It's not to say that the difficulties aren't very, very real, but that they're not overcoming. They do not stamp out all the good that's also around us.
Kevin?
I think, the church is always called to lean into the biblical narrative, but I think that's even more true in times like this, when, either during the pandemic or during personal difficulties for clergy and their families, where they need to rely on others for assistance. And I think back to, the psalmist through, walking through the valley of the shadow of death, but knowing that the Lord is near. One of my favorite biblical quotes is from the first chapter of Joshua about be strong and courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. There's this sense of abiding presence, even in the midst of uncertainty and anxiety and challenge. And I don't say that in a facile way. I think there are times when we really do feel the absence of God. But to be able to be reminded that others experienced the presence of God, even through some really dark and challenging times, that's some reassurance for me.
And to tie up all of these conversations, I have a treat for you. I have some quick questions which require quick answers.
Uh-oh.
So we're going to just roar through, and at the end, you're not going to make any money by getting the right answers, but it will be fun. So are you ready to go?
Yeah.
And
Ready.
And just to make it easy, let's just say, Rusilla, you answer first, and then Kevin. We'll just keep it going that way. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Number one, your favorite hymn.
Amazing Grace.
Be thou my vision.
Which one of your senses is your favorite?
Sight.
Taste.
What is the best time of day for you?
Morning.
First thing in the morning.
What is your favorite food?
Pears.
Popcorn.
In your considered opinion, what is your worst habit or characteristic?
That's a good question.
She
Am I
said,
supposed to
taking some
answer it?
time. Yes.
Ask it again. What's my worst
Habit or
habit?
characteristic?
Oh, I think that it must be the combination of thinking things through too much and being cavalier.
For
It's a
me,
terrible combination.
for me, driving too quickly.
Are you a high or a low Anglican?
Middle.
I would say middle to high.
What was your best Halloween costume ever?
I think it was the one where I was a ghost, but I had to put my snow pants on because it was snowing. We covered our costumes all up. We had to take our snow pants off at every house to show everybody our costume and put them all back on.
Well, mine is an adult costume when I went out with our kids a couple of years ago, and I was Venom, and I loved that.
When you are supremely content, where are you and what are you doing?
I'm by the water and I'm looking for fossils.
I'm at our family cottage on Georgian Bay with my family.
Where would you like to travel in Canada?
The north.
Newfoundland.
In the world?
The north.
For me, it would be India. My spouse's family is from India and I've never been.
Who is the most famous person you've ever met?
Desmond Tutu.
The Pope.
Personally, what was the best part of COVID? We've talked about this, I guess. You both said time. Yes. Do you have a pet peeve?
Overthinking things and being too cavalier.
So back to driving for me, people who drive slowly in the passing lane really drives me crazy.
Okay, those speed cameras, I don't like those.
That's right.
True fact.
What was your worst summer job or part-time job?
Save Our World garbage bags. I went door to door. And we had a big pig on our t-shirts with the sow garbage bags. Oh, I got so many dogs barking at me. homeowners turning their hoses on me. And I was in Rosedale, just saying.
For me, it was working for the town of Markham when I was a teenager. I thought when I got hired that I'd be one of the people driving like the tractors, but instead they handed me one of those string trimmers and took me up to the Markham Fairgrounds, and those long, long fences up at the fairgrounds. I just spent days string trimming the bottom of those fences.
Your greatest achievement in the kitchen?
I would say a vegan chocolate mousse.
For me, smoothies.
What age do you wish you could be again?
I really like the age I am. I'm living my best moment right now.
I would say 30.
When were you first on stage?
I was in public school, spelling bees and drama class, doing plays, presentations.
I was the scarecrow in our high school production of The Wizard of Oz.
And we're going to conclude with this question. What one piece of advice might you offer to a new priest to help them on a healthy path?
Be intentional.
Don't forget to pray.
And thank you both very much. It's been a terrific time with you.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to Bishop Priscilla Shaw and Bishop Kevin Robertson. And soon, maybe we'll meet in person.
That would be great.
I look forward to the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank all of you for joining this wonderful celebration of music and talent from across the diocese. I'm especially grateful that Judy Madron could join us and help bring to life the experience of our bishops during the pandemic. As you can see, we have much in the way of diversity and musical interest. It's my hope that this evening has brought you joy and encouragement. While we are unable to be together in person, we can, nonetheless, gather, celebrate, and give to an important diocesan ministry. And because there is a better chance than not that the Cabaret will continue next year, I'd like you to consider how you might contribute a talent or special skill as a performer. Perhaps you have a flair for singing or playing an instrument. Perhaps you are gifted at improv or dance. We'd like to hear from you, young or old, as a group, or on your own. We are looking for 12 new performances for 2022. You can contact Melissa at the email address noted in the closing credits. Finally, I'd like to thank the staff team from the Stewardship Office, especially Melissa and Peter, who are the creative minds behind this event. The Cabaret was conceptualized in May of 2020 when it was clear that we were not going to be able to gather for the dinner. As you can see, we've pulled things off for a second year in a row. With the production assistance from DF Media Productions and Zoom events, we have found a way to adapt to our circumstances. Let us pray. God of love, we give you thanks for the wonder and joy of this night. We thank you for the melody and song, movement and story. We are grateful for the work of the Bishop's Company in providing support to the clergy and their families who are in need. And we give thanks for the generosity, witness, and support of all who joined us this night. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you this night and forevermore. Amen.